is that you've made a decision that is currently making the problem worse.
That is not correct.
That's Ilhan Omar trying to pin years of policy failures on Linda McMahon. Even after the education secretary explained the basics of supply and demand, Ilhan still acted like she was the only person who understood the issue.
I don't think that is how it works.
That is exactly how it works.
That is not how it works.
It is supply.
Your
It is supply
specific
and
job.
demand.
And today, we're breaking down why throwing money at a problem doesn't magically fix it. So, here we go.
Madam Secretary, sorry to belabor this. I know so many people on both sides of the aisle have asked you about the department's decision to remove nursing, teaching, social work, and other critical occupations from the definition of professional degrees and capping their ability to receive federal loans. I know that in my home state of Minnesota, we're expecting to face a shortage of 30,000 nurses in the next 4 years. And I know that your home state of North Carolina, it is expected to see a shortage of 13,000. Our nurses obviously are limited in their capacity, they're overworked, and they're worried. So I know you said the decision is final, but I'm just trying to figure out if you can answer, why did you move forward with an action that you know is going to be creating a problem or worsening a problem?
Now, what Ilhan is talking about is the Department of Education's recent overhaul of student loan rules, a change that hit graduate students the hardest. Nursing organizations were especially furious because many specialized nurses would no longer qualify for the unlimited federal loans they had access to before. But here's the thing. The nursing shortage didn't suddenly appear because of this policy. It's been a problem for decades and only got worse after the pandemic put even more strain on the healthcare system. Now, that was a point Linda tried to make, but Ilhan kept cutting her off every time she thought she had a chance to land one of her gotchas.
First of all, let me correct one thing. We did not remove any of these professions from a professional category. They were never characterized in the law, in the statute, as a professional category. So as these caps were put into place, and many professions were then being reviewed as to what constituted a professional category, guided by the definition of a professional degree from Congress. So that was the overview that we looked at as we were writing this new rulemaking, with the overall goal of putting caps in place that are going to reduce the cost of college.
How is that happening?
Well, I have a couple of articles here already that there are colleges.
What do they say?
They are saying that they are looking at reducing the cost of their graduate program.
I know, but looking is not addressing the problem that we're currently seeing. What I am asking you is that you've made a decision that is currently making the problem worse.
That is not correct.
Now, Ilhan is completely missing the issue here. The problem isn't that we don't have enough nurses because there's not enough federal money. The real bottleneck is the shortage of nursing faculty, which limits how many students schools can actually admit. Now, there's also another point she glossed over. See, 2 major studies looked at what happens when the government expands access to federal student loans. A 2023 paper from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that while effectively uncapped graduate loans led to more borrowing, they didn't increase enrollment, although tuition prices continue to go up. The New York Fed researched a similar conclusion, finding that the, quote, subsidized loan effect is the most pronounced for more expensive degrees. But none of that seemed to matter to Ilhan, who just kept doubling down on her talking points.
Let me push back on that.
Are you saying the numbers in Minnesota that we're seeing or in North Carolina are not real?
Well, what I'm saying to you is there are shortages in those states, primarily in the undergraduate nursing program, which is not affected by this new rule and this new cap. Undergraduate programs are not affected at all by this cap. I know,
but
These are only graduate programs, so the shortage is not a result of this cap being put on. The shortage of nursing is that we don't have enough applicants into the nursing programs that are coming through our universities.
But you said you were trying to
Undergraduate
lower
program.
the cost of tuition. How does
Absolutely.
that happen?
Because there are already colleges that are lowering the cost of their graduate programs because
What are those colleges?
there's a college in California, University of California in Irvine, and Purdue University in Indiana.
And is it for business or for
They
nursing?
have lowered them right now and for their business programs.
Yeah, but we're talking about nursing, ma'am.
Well, I hope that they'll look at other programs.
So the policy is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. If students can no longer borrow unlimited amounts, universities eventually have to bring tuition back down to a level people can actually afford. And Linda wasn't just making that up. A 2014 study found that Title IV institutions charge tuition that is about 78% higher than that is charged by comparable institutions whose students cannot apply for federal financial aid. See, we've seen the same pattern play out in the housing market, where expanding buyers' purchasing power pushes prices higher when supply is tight. It's basic economics, folks. Something you'd expect a member of the House Budget Committee to understand. Now, realizing Ilhan wasn't getting the point, Linda slowed things down and explained it again, which ended up setting Omar up for one of the biggest cell phones ever.
If they have fewer applicants coming into their universities and they realize part of the reason is because their cost is too high, they will lower those costs.
I don't think that is how it works.
It is exactly how it works.
That is not how it works.
It is supply.
Your
It is supply
specific
and
job.
demand. It is supply
Your
and
specific
demand.
job is to try to make sure, as the head of the Department of Education, to make education accessible for Americans. When you create policies that make education unreachable for Americans that want that education, then you are failing at your job.
No, when there have not been caps on programs and universities have been allowed to charge whatever they wanted, and the student loan program allowed them to borrow up to whatever that university said was the cost, it was time to take action and to put caps in place that are going to
but your caps only create a funnel through the private borrowing system.
That's not true.
Yes, that is what it will do. And
I-
that is what your administration is really trying to do, is trying to
No.
help enrich others on the backs of the American people. I yield back.
See, that's rich, coming from the person who introduced the Meals Act, which led to billions of stolen taxpayer money through fraud. But now we're supposed to believe she's suddenly worried about protecting taxpayer dollars. Give me a break. The key takeaway here is simple. Millions of Americans are drowning in student debt, and the existing system clearly wasn't delivering the results it promised. So it's about time someone tried a different approach. Whether these changes ultimately work is something we'll find out soon enough, but at least the reasoning behind them makes economic sense. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and always remember, keep thinking.